I completed a project that I abandoned about 6 years ago. The game is a simple ragdoll running game where players race against each other, and the gameplay is to observe the ridiculous physics interactions on the screen. I found the game on an external hard drive about a month ago, and I thought to myself, why not check it out, and it turned out to be in way better shape than I remember leaving it in. The moment was really good, the physics was really good, everything about was pretty much done. In a way, it was so bad that it was actually good, because I didn't need precise physics attack animations, that's the difficult part. I could get away just by setting the muzzle target rotations and modifying the joint spring to achieve the running animation. As my understanding about good game design has grown over the years while working on my main project, it made me see that I was sitting on a gem after all this time. And since the game was about 80% complete, I decided to ship the game on Steam. Luckily, I still have the progress development videos from 2019 that I also found on the external hard drive. All hail the external hard drive. I can now show you the entire development cycle of this game. We start simple, just a basic ragdoll setup. It fails on its face because it has no balancing function. Then I tried freezing its root muzzle. This doesn't really work, as you can see here. I tried adding upwards force. This actually ended up working quite well, because it makes the movement chaotic, making the watching experience more pleasant. And as always with ragdolls, there do be physical bugs. Let's take a look at some that I documented on the way. One of the most common bugs you will run into is just incorrect target rotations, so the pose ends up looking funny. Another common one is getting stuck into things. The entire body of the character is physical, so sometimes you will end up with invalid game states like this. And sometimes your body gets spaghettified, almost like you're getting sucked into a black hole. I got the chat joining working. At the time this worked with the chat command, and one of the reasons I abandoned this project was because I would have to include the chatbot authentication token in the build. Which is insecure, since anybody could technically decompile the build and grab the token and start sending awful messages on my behalf. And this right here is the last video I ever documented about this project. And the project would get lost in the depths of my external hard drive of unfinished projects. Until now. I would boot up the project and instantly be starstruck and ask the question, why would I abandon this project? This is incredible. I had added a city map from the asset store and clearly started seeing the vision of the game again. Now, since 6 years had passed, I had to do the Twitch integration again, since Twitch codebase has changed. And funnily enough, they happened to solve my authentication issue with channel points. So you can have the streamer login with their Twitch account, and then the users join into the game with channel points, and now I don't have to store the insecure authentication token into the app. Now that the game no longer had blockers, it was obvious that I should finish this game for good. To start off, I wanted to add some variety in how the running worked, and since the running animation is entirely procedural, I can do that by giving the player the option to adjust the strength of the muscles. And then of course, due to the nature of these games, you don't want to be able to support as many units as possible, so I made the movement logic multi-threaded using the unit job system. And by adjusting the general timescale, I managed to get the game running quite smoothly with around 1000 units. Slowly, but smoothly, and I consider that an absolute win. Next, I wanted to have a way for the streamer to interact with the world, so you could drag and drop props into the world to disrupt the running. These could be either static meshes like cubes or giant rocket that explodes when it hits the ground. This was later replaced by another chat redeem that the chatters could use to spawn obstacles. This essentially turns the game into a multiplayer game where the chatters participate in the game as much as the streamer. Obstacles are a great way to throw fuel into the fire, and the way they work is really simple too. It triggers a stumble state in the player and adds a little bit of force, and boom, it just works. However, I did feel like the blank cubes felt a little bit out of place, so I tried replacing them with some kind of real-world props, which ended up being even more hilarious. Especially the car. I love how insanely chaotic it is. Makes me laugh every single time. Some of my other favorites include the fan that pushes anything in front of it away, and the manhole that launches anything that walks into it into the sky. But we need to go deeper. What if the buildings on the side randomly just collapsed and squished the players? I mean, why not? The more absurd it is, the better it is in my book. Now, let's talk about some of the problems it has. The game's already very chaotic, and displaying the name labels adds to the noise. So I needed a way to display the chatter names attached to the characters without it being super disruptive. My friend Blackmage came up with an idea to have the names be attached to the character shirts like football shirts. The name tags can still be toggled, but they will be off by default. One of the biggest game-breaking bugs this game had is the fact that sometimes players would get stuck into geometry, and since they are unable to move, the game will never finish. I was initially considering adding pathfinding, but that would tank the performance by quite a lot. Especially if there is thousands of units, so I ended up implementing a significantly simpler solution. Small props break, and big props like the house would just knock out the player permanently. And with that, the game loop is finished. The game can be played from start to finish quite reliably without problems. And in the event of a problematic game state, there are buttons that the player can press to try to resolve the problem, like launch the characters to the air. Now was time to put it to the test.
This is a brand new game made by our friend Clayman Dev, and he wants us to test this out. Will y'all help me test it out for Clay? Have y'all have played Marbles on stream, right? Right? Many people have played Marbles on stream. This is like Marbles on stream, except it's made by our friend Clayman Dev, and it's not marbles, it's people. So we're gonna give it a test and see if it works.
And that's the problem. Couple hours before Balin started the stream, the game was not in a functional state for him. There were multiple problems, like the resolution automatically changing, which would end up breaking the entire game UI. Another problem, that since Science Streams is very community-focused stream, he was actually capped out on redeems, which I did not even think about being a problem. So you literally could not play the game. Thankfully, I happened to be on a voice call with another developer called Thendal at the time, and I mentioned this problem to him, and he said that it was actually possible to use the login token to have read-only access to chat. So I could integrate the player controls using chat commands instead, which would essentially have no limit since it's just text. So I would patch everything I could. The application was working for me locally, but I had no way of knowing if it would also work for Balint. There were no additional tests done until it was stream time. You know, if there was any time for code to randomly just work, that would be a pretty good time for that to happen.
Alright, so there's 3 levels. No ponies. You can type !join to get in on the game. Oh, there's Feline. Ah, look at all the party people coming in. I'm gonna come in here too.
It worked. And not only did it work, but people participating in the stream were also loving it.
Miss Feline has been hit by an obstacle, but let's see who's in the front. Black made the birthday boy! No, glued with gold. No, I've taken over. I've taken over, guys. You better get those obstacles in because there's a cyan streams running. Oh, no, there's not. No, there's not. Lara and I have both hit the wall on this one. We can't keep going, chat. We can't get, oh no, who's gone ahead? Clayman Dev is cheating devlog. We've got the devlog going on in here, but I seem to have sprunted back ahead. But Lara Gale, the inevitable, is going back into the lead. Lara Gale, the inevitable. Tom Millman ready to go. Oh my God, my camera can't even keep up.
The playtest was a huge success. Seeing so many people having a good time with something I made alone made it all worth it. There were some issues found that I ended up addressing later on, but all in all, I'm very happy where this project is currently heading into. We're planning to add more maps by Black Mage and more ridiculous obstacles. So if you would like to see what the future holds, consider wishlisting the game on Steam. It's still just a fun little side project, but I am excited about the opportunity to launch a full-scale game on Steam. That will be it for me this time. Thanks for watching and take care.